There's the tater digger in the weeds where it sat from last year, from the last time we used it. Hooking up the tater digger. Still hooking up the tater digger. Well, I need some buckets. You coming, Top? Come on. Come on, buddy. Come on. Well, it probably doesn't have any grease fittings anyway, does it? Look at this weather. It's raining.
I have eyes, I can see.
There's a lot of potatoes. Ideally, we would use a steel tractor for this, but since it's just a little bit of potatoes, we only planted 2 sacks. Giovanni decided to use a rubber tire tractor. But there are potatoes. I'm surprised with how bad the weather was. Look how many! Giovanni must need some extra weight on top. Taters, taters, taters. So we ended up with 13 cassettes.
Lo questo taglia, ti fate un'andacca. Allora noi ci facciamo un'andacca in da boccola, una parte. Quando andiamo a mettere il pieno costringiamo, si ingiallazza da piccino.
The rendenatore, or the hay gatherer, it's so old that it's like pointed downward, so when it spins it doesn't pick up the hay like it should. So it needs all new pins and new sleeves because it's so worn out. So Giovanni has to get to his lathe and literally make brand new pins because this thing is so old we may not be able to even get parts like that for it. So he has the equipment to make the pins. It's just a little time consuming, but that's what they did. And maybe we can get it fixed and get back to work. This particular land is Elena's land, and right beside it is Zia Maria's land. And we always do our hay over here every year, which we have several plots of land we do hay, several. And seems to me every single time, Pasquale, you know, we cut the hay, it's fine, the weather. But the second we finish gathering, and then Giovanni begins to bale, it starts to rain on this particular land every single time. So if you can see behind me the weather conditions today, not very good for baling hay because the hay will mold up. So let's see if we can manage to get through without the rain. We'll see. You think you'll be able to fix it?
Yeah.
Is that yes or no? Not really a time for a breakdown, is it?
No.
Never a good time for a breakdown. Well, we still have that little plot to do over there. It started raining, so we're going to hightail it back to the house. We didn't make it, but in this, we're going to wait out the rain. It's not going to rain very much, I don't think. I mean, this wasn't even forecasted. This storm formed. I mean, because we watched the forecast and try to keep up with the forecast. But this formed overnight, this storm, this moisture. And we're going to try to come back later after the sun has dried up the moisture. So it rained just a little bit, just enough to wet the top of the ground. But in this summer heat, once the sun came out, after a few hours, it was time to go bale again. So the sun came out and all is right with the world. Okay, this is our barbetta. And this is a healthy pendula. And this pendula is the disease, that it will make them lose, like a stunted growth, and it will make them lose their, at a very early stage, their grapes. See, they just crumble, some of them. But it shouldn't affect the taste of the grapes or the wine. So that's our barbetta. It's kind of hard to walk in this clump because Pasquale had taken the vanga attachment and tilled this land. And here's another specimen of a nice barbetta so far in July, the 1st of July, really. But like I said, a lot of our neighbors over there in that town in Castelcivita and underneath Castelcivita, they grow a lot of grapes and wine, and they've lost almost all their grapes over there. So we're really lucky. Because of the constant rain, it brought a lot of moisture, and grapes do not like a lot of moisture because it'll bring the mold and everything else under the sun. Grapes are very hard to take care of and very delicate in this region. Okay, this is our Merlot area over here. We planted this later on. Like I said, our barbetta was planted 15 years ago when we first came here, because we bought this land while we were still in America. And it had grapes on it, but we replanted. And this was planted, I would say, 5 years ago. And this is the Merlot. And it makes a sweeter wine, red wine, of course. And here's some Merlot over there. It's a smaller grape. The pendulas are smaller, and so are the grapes themselves are smaller. Smaller and sweeter. But they seem to be doing good here. So far, I don't really see any signs of... Okay. Yeah, I see a little one. Where the disease beforehand had... Okay, this is where the disease on the leaf, and Giovanni managed to stop it. So it's not... I don't think that that's active anymore on the leaves. But on the pendula... Oh, see? As soon as you touched it, it fell out. So that one was diseased from before. It was tiny. These look healthy. The ones beside it look healthy. These look pretty good over here. And what I have done was the stalk of the plant earlier needed to be cleaned because it had like lots of bushes, which we call, you know, the suckers on the plant. So I had to remove them, and I had to kind of trim up. And you have to know what you're doing, because if you trim it the wrong way, you ruin your crop for next year. And then what they call cappy, the heads for next year, gets wrapped around the wire on top. This wire right here on top. But you have to pay attention. And you have to be semi-skilled. I mean, if I can learn it, anyone can. This is our Merlot area. Over here. Now I'm going to show you the area that we planted 2 years ago and last year. And it's Merlot. But they're really, really tender. And right away they got the disease, and there's pretty much nothing over there anymore. So I will show you that next. Okay, these are the latest Merlot plants that we planted 2 years ago, and the ones that did not survive got replanted, so some of them are 1 year old, and they are so tender I cannot bend them over the wire, so I had to tie them up. Here, I tied them up. Clean the stalks, the trunks, and they got tied up and kind of fixed and tucked. There are no grapes. The only grapes that are here are, we're probably not even going to pick them, but are brown. They're not there anymore. Not good, not good. So they're very tender. Look, the disease on the leaves. And another thing I noticed over here, but where the disease is really strong like this, it has a smell of rotten fruit. Just if the wind blows a certain way, it smells like a rotten fruit here. But so far, the plant, the new growth, is healthy for next year, it looks like. So this disease should not affect next year's crop. Okay, I'm going to show you some more. I just saw some disease. That used to be pendulas right there. Well, that's a really quick look at my vineyard. So you guys have a great week, and we'll keep plugging along here in Italy. keep plugging along with the hay until it's done, and I'm going to have to come along here and give my vineyard some TLC, some more tucking and cutting. Have a great week.